what's the status of Matt Nagy, you think, in Chicago? 4-9 right now. Justin Fields shows flashes when he's not hurt behind that porous offensive line. That's obviously Nagy's fault, but what do you make of his status in Chicago right now?
From one dysfunctional organization to another, and dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things, so it's always hard to predict what a dysfunctional team is going to do. Right? When they trade up from number 20 to number 11, give up next year's first-round pick to get Justin Fields, I look at that and I say, okay, somebody in that organization has decided that they're going to stick with Matt Nagy for a couple of years, that they're going to stick with Ryan Pace, the GM, for a couple of years and give this kid a chance to develop, that you're not going to put everyone under a win-now mandate when you've gone all in for a quarterback that's going to take some time to get to his highest level of achievement, because if you get a new coach, there's no guarantee the new coach wants that quarterback. He may say it during the interview process, and he may convince you that he believes it, but once he's there and he's got his guaranteed contract, well, all of a sudden, maybe this guy or maybe that guy or maybe this guy doesn't really fit with the offense I want to run. So I thought that when they made the trade, Rich, it meant Nagy and Pace got 2 more years. And now, obviously, the storm clouds are building. And there was a report from CBS on Sunday that they've spoken to Trace Armstrong, who was a first-round pick of the Bears in '89 and spent 16 years in the NFL. He's in the 100-sack club. He's a successful agent now, primarily for coaches, that they've talked to him about taking over the football operations. He denied it. Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, was linked to Armstrong, but the one thing that was overlooked in all this, he represents Nagy. So it's just one big stinking mess. And I mentioned that possibility of someone in charge of football operations because if they do start firing people this time around, Rich, they need to go one level higher and target Ted Phillips. He's got one of these gigs that most teams have, a person like this who is part of the football operation, but when the poop hits the fan, pardon me, they're not. And they go run for cover, and they don't get fired. So 20 years later, and a bunch of bad hires later, that person's still calling the shots. It could be that this time it goes up one level higher, and they clear out everybody and start over again.
I guess I was thinking when I heard Ryan Day's name mentioned that whoever loses the Michigan-Ohio State game is apparently rumored to be the next Bears coach year in and year out. You know, so
I wonder if they're leaking Ryan Day to get Jim Harbaugh to be in.
I don't know about that.
That's the ultimate born on third and think you hit a triple move. And then Harbaugh says, "No, sorry, Ryan Day, I'll take that job."
So what about Ryan Day? What could he be like Jacksonville too? Because that's a possibility. I mean, what college coaches could potentially be on radar screens in the NFL?
Well,
right now,
the owners are very much influenced by recent history. They say that the NFL is a copycat league. I think that it's more like the owners don't know what to do, so they look at whatever's successful right now, and they say, well, I'll do the same thing. So you look at what's happening with Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, and the guy who succeeded him in Ohio State. Well, would you touch that guy right now if you were an owner of a team? I mean, I think of the ridicule you're going to get. Oh, well, we took the guy that Urban Meyer handed a successful program to, and he's still mostly successful, and we expect that guy to be better than Urban Meyer when, he worked with Meyer, and look at what a mess it is for Meyer. I think it's going to be hard to sell Ryan Day until Meyer either becomes successful or some other college coach who jumps to the NFL becomes successful. Matt Rhule started off 3-0, and now I think he's in trouble.
He is
of being replaced.
You think so?
Well, because David Tepper, the owner of that team, is determined to get the best of everything as it relates to coach, GM, and quarterback. The Amazon series that they don't produce anymore, it was called All or Nothing.
Yes.
The year that they had the Panthers as the focal point, in the very last episode, David Tepper's riding in the backseat of an SUV, and he says the NFL is set up for all teams to be 500. And where you go above that or below that is up to you. And if you want to be above that, you have to have a great coach, a great GM, and a great quarterback. And I think Tepper has a very short fuse when it comes to up or down. Is this guy great or not great? Teddy Bridgewater, 1 year, not great, gone. Sam Darnold, half a season, not great, gone. And has he seen enough from Matt Rhule in 2 years? Look, something happened that is unusual, to say the least, to result in Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, being fired at 15 after 1 o'clock Eastern on the Sunday of their bye week, 6 days after the normal time you fire somebody when you're changing offenses or changing play callers
right.
during your bye week. So there's definitely a vibe that David Tepper may have seen enough from Matt Rhule, and he's going to move on and try to find, he wants Vince Lombardi, George Young, and Tom Brady, and he's not going to rest until he has all three.
So who else might be on that hot seat? It's interesting you point out again that the window to start interviewing candidates is 2 weeks earlier than usual. So what do you think?
Well, I think Mike Zimmer in Minnesota is a guy who's in danger, to say the least, where they are right now. It's just the same old thing. They're treading water. They're dog paddling. They've blown so many leads this year. And even though they ultimately won the game on Thursday night, that's one of those games where in the owner's box, to the extent that they are allowed to smoke cigars in there, and I assume they're not, that's where you want to light one up midway through the third quarter and just enjoy the rest of the game. Well, the next thing you know, here, oh, there's one. Oh, there's another. Oh, there's another. Before you know it, you're in another game that goes down to the last freaking play, up 29-0, and it's yet another Vikings game that has to come down to the last play. And but for Chase Claypool and the ridiculous celebration of a first down catch that took 14 seconds off the clock before they could snap it, the Steelers would have had another shot or two at the end zone. So I think Zimmer has to get to the round of 8, and I don't think he will, to come back next year. I think at this point, just getting the 7th seed and getting knocked out by the 2nd seed is not going to be nearly good enough. And because it's just, playoffs one year, no playoffs the next year, and there's no real sign of growth, no sign of progress, and no sign that he's fully in charge of the team. He's in charge of the defense, and he throws the keys to the offense to the offensive coordinator, and that's just not good enough.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.